One of the biggest problems that we're having with our randoms program is actually getting the polls to do what we need themselves. For example, sometimes they'll overpoll, sometimes they'll underpoll, and sometimes they won't poll at all. Because of that, we have put a new feature in where Mark will go through and actually verify the information and then run a poll if the poll hasn't run, and then submit it before the client can see anything. So this is a good example of what we're up against. First, we're going to change the poll settings to change it for today's date and hit apply. Then we're going to run the program, and it wants to know if we're going to pull it for July 1st through July 31st for 7 employees. We're going to select OK. And in this case, we got an error and nothing was pulled. So what we'll have to do is attempt to change the parameters, even though we're not sure why it didn't pull. So I'm changing the program interval to today's date through the end of the year, and I'm going to try and run again. Now it's changed if I want to pull August through August 31st, so I'm going to select OK. And again, nothing pulled. Okay, so that didn't work. So let's say I manually calculate it and determine that I need 1 drug test. I'm going to change it from percent to quantity, and 1 breath alcohol test, change it from percent to quantity, and hit apply, and see if it will now let me run it. Okay, and this time it did actually pull. So this is the type of thing that we run into frequently. We have to change things around and really try and force the system to do what we have to do, including calculate by hand how many people have come in for testing so far and have been pulled, and how many we need for the remainder of the year based on what quarter it is. So this is one of the major problems that we've been running into frequently. In the past 2 months, we have had issues with overpulling, and that's why this submit button now exists. And Mark calculates how many people need to be pulled based on how many quarters or months are left for the year. Underpulling occurred last month in a couple of instances, and we've also noticed that the formula used for programming the breath alcohol tests is not correct as well. For example, if you have a company that only needs 2 breath alcohols per year and is pulled on a monthly basis, it will actually pull a breath alcohol each month if we don't go in and tell it not to. Additionally, last month, Pool 1 did not do any pulls at all. Okay, once we're at this point, then if Mark has verified this information is correct, that we did need 1 breath alcohol and 1 drug test, we would hit submit. It asks if we're sure, and once we're done, it does give us a success, done, and it does not give us any update here to show us that it's completed, but if we click on DOT, it'll bring us back to the front, and now if we click and go back into it, it does show it was submitted today. If our system was actually running properly and we didn't have to verify everything by hand, the submit button wouldn't be required, and that would actually save a lot of time on Mark's behalf, not having to pull everything manually every month. The next problem that we're running into is our notifications. We've had a lot of issues and a lot of comments from our clients recently that when results are available that they're not receiving any notification. So if I just pull the same company here, okay. And this one is showing that the test is ready to view. It has been resulted. Whether this shows up here in our tracking that the client has received it doesn't mean that they actually will have. Another problem that we're running into is we have an email that goes out to let our clients know to update their employee list. It's sent on the 1st of each month, which is when we're actually doing the polls. So that would be best changed to the 20th of the month to allow them time to update it so it doesn't interfere with the actual poll. Okay, another issue that we're having has to do with specimen ID and test date. If you go into previous polls, if somebody has come in, it will show the drug test result, the specimen ID or test record, and the test date. We don't want this feature available because it's not here 100% of the time, and that depends on how the information is put into the system. For example, if we were to check somebody in, and we type in the social exactly as it's listed in there, it will come up and give us the patient, and it'll show randoms right after it. If we hit insert and then go ahead and put the drug test in, because this one was selected properly, it would actually show up on the other end. If, in fact, we put in their actual social, then nobody would come up. Let me reset that. So if the same person came in, and we only had the last 4 in the system, and then we entered the correct social, then nobody's going to come up, even if we have the same name, because it only pulls search record by social security number and date of birth. So in this case, it shows up. But if we hadn't put the social security number in exactly as it was already in our system, and these first 5 were all 1s, then it wouldn't link and these wouldn't be here. We've had some issues with some of our clients being confused because sometimes things will show up and sometimes things won't. Additionally, the randoms report is linked to that one same section. So if you click on randoms report and you looked at how many drug tests and alcohol tests are there, it links to whether or not the specimen ID and test date are in there. So if it hasn't been entered perfectly, then none of this information is correct. If instead that this report was populated by the information from the resulting report, then the information shows correctly in our system. So if we were looking at the beginning of the year through today, these are the results that we have for the specific client. And if we then go to pull the MIS report, which is under Clients, and then Man Data, 2013, we're going to select year-end totals in this case, and print DOT audit form. We're going to see in here, there's one random and how it was resulted, and that's the correct information.